Is stacked. You can whisper behind my back. You can show me how the odds are up against me all day long. But I've been through the fire and come out alive, and there's no more fear in my eyes. But now I'm rising.
That's good.
You can't bring me down. You can't stop me now.
So welcome back to the channel, and I'm feeling really lucky today. I've been loaned a brand new 2023 KTM Super Adventure S. So my 890's in at the dealer having a bit of work done on the suspension, and I was really lucky enough to be able to get hold of this bike, and it only had 100 miles on it when I picked it up, and I've been riding it for a few days now. Put a few hundred miles on it and really beginning to enjoy it. So I wanted to do a review of this bike, which it's KTM's attempt at shooting at the BMW GSs and all the big intercontinental tourers. And I guess the question is, have they hit that mark? Have they managed to produce the bike that does that? And I've ridden the GSs, I've ridden this bike before in younger versions as well, and I've got a fair bit of experience on these bikes. I've also had a good amount of time on Africa Twins as well, and it's just really working out where this bike rates. Now, technically you can take this bike off-road, and you could get an alternative set of wheels for it and put some knobbly tyres on it, and that is an option, though it is quite costly by the time you put brake discs on and got the tyres sorted. So that's probably, you know, £1,500 to £2,000 worth of work to get that spare set of tyres. But if you really wanted to, and you really like the geometry of this bike and you like the touring aspect, you could do that. If you want to go more off-road, then I'd suggest just go for the 1290 Super Adventure R, because that's designed for that purpose and it behaves very well on the road. So I'm going to do a review of this bike. I'm going to put it through its paces, do some twisties, do some motorway work, and just see what this bike is like. Now, I'm lucky because I've had it for 5 days now, so I'm really getting used to it, and this is turning into a little bit more of an extended test rather than just an hour. So I am getting used to the bike, and really it's beginning to feel really comfortable, and it's sort of molding to me. My body and my brain are getting used to it and really understanding how this bike feels. So let's crack on with the review and come back to you at the end and have a chat. Cheers. So let's get on and review this bike. It's a much nicer day today than it was yesterday. So yesterday I was trying to film for this review, and it was gale force winds, pouring with rain, and just generally pretty nasty. So really pleasant to be able to get out onto some drier roads today and have a bit of a play, see what this bike's all about. So this is one of my favourite roads. It's really close to home, and it's one of my sort of test roads that I just love riding. I come out on this road just for a little bit of fun and just like the way it rides. And I'm on this brand new 2023 1290 Super Adventure S. I've had it since Wednesday, so I'm on day 5 of it as a demo bike now, while my 890's in having some suspension work done. And I've ridden a few hundred miles on this bike already, and we begin to get used to it. And it's interesting because I had the original, or one of the 2021 Super Adventure S's before I realised I wanted to ride off-road, and traded it in. And it's quite nice to get back onto the more road focused bike and see what it's all about. You know, I've been riding my 890R and my 1290R for about a year and a half now, and they are different. You know, you've got that 21-inch front wheel and the 18-inch rear wheel. On this bike you've got the 18-inch front and the 17-inch rear wheel. and again with completely different tyres. You know, we've got the Metis Terraforce tyres on this compared to the Metis E10 and 13 on my 890, and the Bridgestone Battle Axe on the 1290. So I haven't really ridden anything without knobbly tyres for a while now, and you can certainly feel it's much smoother. And I got used to riding the knobbly tyres on road, and you know, you can scratch them quite nicely, you can really have some fun with them. But it is quite pleasant to get back onto a more road biased bike, and this is the problem with bikes, isn't it? You know, we just keep going back to this. What bike is best for what we want? And I don't think there's any single best bike. So KTM sort of tout this as a bike for crossing continents, for doing huge miles, and it's got the next evolution of the LC8 engine. So that's the 75-degree V-twin engine, and it sort of comes in at just 1301cc. And this does feel really smooth. I want to get back out of my 2022 1290 later and just see if it feels as smooth as this engine, because it does feel a bit different, and certainly at lower revs it's pulling better. So I don't know if they've changed the mapping a bit, because on my 2022 LC8 on the 1290R it definitely stutters and fails a bit when it's at low revs, and you know, the technician seemed to think that was down to EU mapping. And I've had a, quite a play with this one at the low rev range, and it seems to work really nicely. So they definitely changed something on the engine. This is lovely, I like it a lot. Like I said, it's been nice. I've had a few days to get used to it, so it's beginning to feel quite a natural bike now. The other thing I found interesting, I've not really ridden a roadish bike since I started riding off-road, and I definitely feel, you know, my body position's changed, and my positioning and riding on the corners is very different to what it used to be, and I'm really enjoying that feeling. I remember when I had sports bikes like the KTM RC8, and you know, I was always trying to get my knee down, get my body over, and then you think about the physics that you have when you're off-road riding, and they really seem to improve and change riding on road. I think my riding on road is much more stable now. I feel a lot more in control with that slightly different riding style. Quick shifter, you know, when you start using the revs a bit more, it's absolutely epic. And I've got the anti-dive on the brakes, and it really does make a difference when you're braking a little bit harder before corners. It really is superb. Oh, this is excellent, really excellent. Enjoying this a lot. Really good. Oh, this is one of my favourite bits of road here, and I reckon the police are going to be out in full force today. Lovely sunny April day. And it's a lovely hill to come up this. It's got some slightly blind bends, like a bit of braking around the corners from this chap in front. So we've got this blind bend here. And I know this road pretty well, and some of the bends still tend to throw you out a bit. Nice, like that. Very nice. Oh, this bike is so punted. It's lovely. So I've got the suspension on automatic settings, and it adapts to how you're riding. So I notice when I'm going slowly, it's quite flush suspension, and then when you start going a bit faster and riding a little bit more aggressively, it tightens it up, and you can really feel it nicely. It does feel really good. Back up on Dartmoor, and it is stunning today, much more enjoyable than yesterday when it was pretty nasty. Really beautiful, and it's a perfect road for this bike. You know, these sort of sweeping roads with beautiful scenery. This is probably what road adventure biking is all about. It's just so stunning. And in terms of the bike, so looking at the updates for 2023, there aren't actually very many. It's certainly not been a major rework of the bike, and it's not a huge amount different to my 2021 version. The engine's pretty much the same, the geometry is the same, wheels and tyres. They have changed the frame a little. I think it's got lighter, and it's a chromo frame now. And they do offer different colours as well. So we've got the red and the orange and the black. But then they also do a light grey version of it as well, which I've had a look at online, and it looks pretty good. You know, it's a nice colour, quite subtle, quite gentle. And the other change they've done is with the navigation. So they've done turn-by-turn navigation, but I seem to remember having that on my 2021 version. I could link up with the app, it would give me the instructions on the screen like we've got here. So I'm not quite sure how that's different, and I'm sure someone will probably correct me in the comments section on that. And this is about as beautiful as it gets. It really is stunning. So you really notice coming downhill, let's grab a bit of front brake, the anti-dive is on for the front, and you really can feel that difference. It's quite noticeable. So if I just grab a handful of front brake now, it really stays up. There's a little bit of dive, but nothing dramatic on that, and I do like that a lot. And it'd be interesting to get back onto my 1290R and just see how different that feels. And this bit down here is really stunning. It's really beautiful. I'll try and just turn my head a bit and stand up going over the bridge so you can see what's going on. Yeah, if you look there, that was really beautiful on that side. Really nice. So just going up this hill reminded me that the 1290 Super Adventure does have a type of hill hold, so it will automatically put a brake on when you come to a stop on an uphill incline. And I have played with that a bit on my other bike as well, and I'm not massively keen on it. I really got put off it when I was riding the 1290 off-road, and I was just trying to turn the bike around and just letting it roll backwards, and it kicked in and stopped me rolling back. So I've turned it off, and I've turned it off on this one, because what I've noticed is that it will come on, but then it tends to cancel itself after about 5 or 6 seconds, and I'm not sure why that is. So I prefer to ride without that automatic handbrake or automatic park brake that comes on with that. Okay, let's have a walk around this 2023 KTM Super Adventure S. So it's pretty familiar. We've got all the same stuff here as on the previous bikes. We've got the really nice large TFT display, and then if you come across the handlebar and all the mountings on here, we've got the right hand side, we've got the custom switch, which is just here. So this custom switch which toggles between two different choices, and that doesn't select or switch on any functions. What it does, it actually just takes you to the menu where you can select that function. So you can set it for ride mode, ABS. I set one of mine for heated grips, the other one for ride mode. So there's lots of different options that you can do there. We've got the keyless ignition here, and then the usual switches here. Come across the other side, and we have the toggle hat display, which again is pretty familiar to people. We've got the select button in the middle, we've got the back button, we've got the cruise control up here, and then we've got the navigation directions here. Underneath we've got the indicator switch, and there have been some issues with the indicator switch previously, and I know that I've picked up on it, and this one seems to be better. I've not heard that they've changed it, but it definitely seems to cancel more easily and it feels more precise, so I'm hoping that's changed things a bit. And then underneath we've got the couple of buttons here. There's one in front and one behind, so the plus and the minus, and this is for changing the speed on the cruise control, or it's for changing the slip mode in rally settings, so you can change it from 1 to 9 when you're in rally. If we look here, we've got the 1301cc LC8 engine, and it really is a beautiful engine, and it just seems to get better and better with every iteration of it. And this one is smooth as butter and feels beautiful, but then you wind it up and it really does have a nice roar and that huge hit of KTM power. So I do love that engine. And then if we come to the front of the bike, we've got the Brembo disc brakes, and I've played with those a lot this morning, including the anti-dive, and they've just been really strong brakes, and the anti-dive does make a really big difference with that. We come up and we've got the WP Apex suspension, which has the semi-active technology in it, and if we come to the top of the shock absorbers, you'll see here this is different to the 1290R, which has manual adjustments on this, and so these are electronic inputs into the shock absorbers, and they act on magnetic valves, which changes the properties of the shock absorbers, and you can do that on the move through the TFT display. Now if you look here, we've got this compartment which has got a USB charging socket in it, but I have an iPhone 13 Pro Max and it doesn't fit. You can't close it, so a little bit remiss there, but you will get smaller phones in that part. So this bike has the Metis Terraforce tyres, which are the road-based ones. They've got some tread. Managed to do a little bit on the chicken strips this morning, not got all the way to the edge, but they've got a nice profile. They seem to roll in really nicely, and getting really confidence inspiring on the corners now, really enjoying those. Right, let's have a little play with the quick shift. That's good. That is very good. I like that. Great fun. The bike feels so settled when you accelerate hard like that. It just soaks it up. Suspension copes nicely, and it just feels solid and confidence inspiring, and it feels like it's designed to be ridden like that. And that's another thing I love about all the recent KTMs I've ridden. When I think back to the RC8, that was a little bit like a caged animal, and it wasn't very happy around town. It got very hot and occasionally even cut out. The engines have become more and more refined and work really well at slow speeds and when you're being sensible around town and just chilling out. And yet when you unleash them, they really are very special. Oh, cute Dartmoor ponies. Yeah, it's super special. And this is one of those days where you just feel glad to be alive. The road's dry. Sun's out, a bit of warmth, and it just feels epic. Right, I'm going to try one last type of road, so I'm going to try sort of fast dual lane roads and see what those are like. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to wind up the screen here. We'll get on here and we'll just see what that that was fun. That was great fun. Just that huge open slip road. So if you look now, we're back on the route that I put in earlier, and we've got that turn by turn navigation, and that's coming through my headphones. So let's just do a little bit of a wind on. And this really is a monster machine. Real monster machine. And it can lose your license very fast if you're not careful. But this is very comfortable, so we've got the bit here, tiny little bit of buffeting on top of the helmet. The body's actually really well shielded, and I can just feel a little bit of wind on my upper arms, but nothing bad. It all feels very balanced. I'm not having to work to maintain my posture, which is great. Feels super smooth, super comfortable, and there's actually almost zero vibration as well. And I know from when I've changed the handguards on my other bikes, there's quite a lot of weighting goes on inside the handlebar ends, so I think there are vibration dampers there which really do their job quite nicely by the feel of it. So I'm really not feeling much vibration at all here. So yeah, pretty good wind protection. It is quite a windy day, and I'm just getting that little bit of buffeting on top of my helmet. But bear in mind, I am wearing a dual sport helmet and it's got a peak. So I reckon with a smooth helmet, that would be absolutely no problem at all, and the wind would just deflect straight over the top. Oh, it's so appealing just to wind it on big time. But I'm not going to. Yeah, very, very nice. And if you're in a country where you had an unrestricted motorway or higher speed limits, I think this bike would be super capable. And if we go back to KTM's ethos behind this bike, which is intergalactic continent crossing, it fits that brief extremely well. And I think we've shown that it can do incredibly well on twistier roads, on wet roads, and just any conditions really. And we've got the suspension settings to cope with that, and the bike to cope with it as well. And then the fact we can change the tuning on the engine to keep things a bit safer is also really important. So I'm massively impressed with that little bit of quick road there. Really good fun. Oh yeah, really nice. Lovely. Oh, that was so nice. So hope you enjoyed the filming of some of the riding and some of my comments. So let's have a little chat about this bike now. So like I said, I've ridden it for a good few days in all conditions. I was up here yesterday and it was pouring with rain, it was windy, it was grey, and it was really quite nasty. And the bike really behaved well. I enjoyed it. It felt safe, it felt settled, it felt planted on the roads, and those tyres performed well. So it was confidence inspiring in that respect. And then to get this today, you know, this is a treat to be able to come up here and just have dry roads, have sunshine and some warmth as well. It's a long time since I've had any warmth feeling through this jacket. So really pleasant day, and I've got to ride the bike in all conditions and see what it's like. So what are my conclusions on this bike? I think it's epic. I think it's really, really good. I have been enjoying it so much. It's just a hoot to ride. It's such good fun. You can toddle around town at low speeds. The engine is super pliable and just behaves itself at low revs. But then when you get to the open road and you open up that KTM LC8 engine, you get that renowned KTM roar from that exhaust, and it is just intoxicating. It feels wonderful to ride. I've been pushing it harder through the bends as well, really seeing how well it sticks and how it accelerates out of those corners, and it really is superb at what it does. That grip is impressive, and then the wind on with that torque and that power as you power out of corners is really impressive. So I just love that. I suppose one negative thing on this bike is it doesn't quite fit my body as well as the 1290R does, and I'm not sure why, because it's got a lower seat, you can adjust the suspension lower and it should feel more comfortable, but I still find it gives me a little bit of lower back stiffness after riding it for a few hours. And I suppose if it was my bike I could probably adjust it and change that around and sort that out, and it's not a big thing, it's just a picky thing that I have noticed compared to the 1290R. So that's the only real negative I've found. I love that display, and now it's linked up with the turn-by-turn navigation. It works really nicely. I've linked the display to my intercom and my helmet, and I can get those directions, I can manage my music, I can manage the volume, so I can do all the things I want to do. And it seems better sorted than previous TFTs. When I had the 2021 Super Adventure S, there were little connection niggles, especially when you try to connect two devices. And I'm finding with this one, everything stays connected much better. So that's a really big plus from KTM. So on balance, I really love this bike. I think it's beautiful. I think it rides extremely well. Its low center of gravity really helps that ride quality and the handling through and round corners. And it just feels like a really strong intercontinental tourer, but then you can ramp up the suspension settings, you can ramp up the power, and you can really give it some beans on some twisties and have great fun. So would I recommend it as a bike? Of course I would, you know, but all bikes are good these days, and we choose bikes based on lots of different factors. It's how it fits in with what we want for our image, it's how it rides, it's how it fits us. So lots and lots of different factors there, and I'm sure they're all as good as each other, but as you know, I love KTM and this bike is an absolute gem. So thanks for watching once again, really appreciate your time. If you do like my videos, then I'd love you to subscribe, that'd be really kind, and let's keep it coming. You know, it's building, and the channel is really going from strength to strength, and it's thanks to everybody who's watching and subscribing. So thanks again. Have your mini adventures, have your big adventures if you want. Just get out there and ride all weathers, enjoy it, and I'll see you next time.